We are live. Hey, folks. Just eating a piece of pumpkin pie that my wife lovingly made for me last night. Welcome to another creamy and moist, delectable live episode of a Crept from the 80's. Where we talk about many other things other than the 1980's. But because we do get thick within that decade on these live shows, I keep it under the Crept from the 80's banner. So, should be interesting. I hope we have a full house tonight like we did last week. It was fantastic. The weather is a bit iffy, so if the live stream goes in and out, gets a little wonky, it is because we are, one, still in that delicious polar vortex, and two, the wind today has been atrocious. And power could go out, internet could go out, who knows? So we'll see what happens. I started a little early tonight, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many of you come in to chat with me tonight. Should be interesting. Tonight's episode is gonna be about some of my favorite obscure, lost, underappreciated gems, films, movies, what have you. Cult films could be. There's a bunch of stuff that I love that a lot of people have never heard of. At least in my circle of friends, people kind of look at me sideways when I talk about a certain movie, depending on what it is, and not everybody has heard of some of these, what maybe some people consider turds. I don't know, but for me, I really enjoy these movies, so we're gonna talk about them, and then I hope to hear about some weird stuff from you guys, stuff that I could check out. I don't know necessarily if you guys will check any of these movies out, just based on my recommendation, because I like trash. I like a lot of garbage. So, but at least you'll have a little more insight into some of the stuff that I actually really enjoy. So yeah. Oh, Curtis! Curtis is here. Hi, I made it on time. Curtis, good to see you. Thanks for showing up, my friend. Curtis is a longtime fan of the movies that I've made throughout the years. And I got to meet Curtis one time many moons ago, at a Horror Hound convention. He was fantastic. He was a great fan. So I appreciate you being here, Curtis. Thank you for showing up. Also going to show off a couple things that a fan sent me in the mail. Very, very generous of him. Very nice of him. I'm also joined tonight by Captain Caveman, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Punky, 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 Mahoney. I went back and forth. There was a couple of things that I was going to do tonight, theme-wise, and I realized I want some people with me to do those particular subjects. Even though I really want to get into it ASAP. I wanna do our toy episode, which is our all the toys that we grew up with, that we loved, and that we still covet to this day, as well as our holy grails as far as toys are concerned. What we want from our collection to put in our collection, that we may have had, that we're collecting again, we never had but we wanted. So I want to do a full-on show on that. But I think a couple of us want to do that, Casey and Tansky, and that might be like at a setting, at a location that we are thinking about, and that might be a full-on Uber live show for that. I also want to do a full moon episode, and I was thinking doing it live, or maybe doing an episode of Crept From the 80's for it, but I know my good buddy Bobby Heckman would really love to be a part of that particular show, so hold off on the full moon episode, live episode, normal episode, what have you. And then I just thought, you know what? Let's talk about some of the obscure, weird, underappreciated flicks that I really love and watch year after year, and hear from other people too. Hello, Robert. What is up? What is up with you? You're here, which is great. I thank you for showing up. Getting a weird message from John Wick. Continental. Okay, so we got a few people in so far. Nice. Again, I did start early. I'm always, you never know. You never know who's going to show up at these live shows, especially when I do them. It's kind of off and on, Fridays or Saturdays. Used to be Thursdays. Who knows? But I'm trying to do it now, either Friday night or Saturday nights. I know it's when most people go out and do their thing, but it works for me. So. But again, if you're not here for the live show, you can always, if you're into that type of thing, you can come back and watch or listen to the show at a later date. If you happen to be doing chores or making yourself into a modern man, and you want to listen to some Obi-Wan jabroni like me yapping about random nonsense from the 80's or geeky stuff, you can always come back and just watch the live shows later. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the live visits, and I appreciate the visits on the show, on the channel. So thank you. Just rambling. I'm here with my girls. Got my tribe here. Tonight I'm going to be drinking my favorite hard cider, which is Mac Jack's Frosty Pumpkin. Love it, love it, love it. I hoard this shit because they only bring it around like September, October, November, and very limited places. It's not even in Rochester. I gotta get it in Buffalo, which is about an hour away, but I know the people who make it, so they hook me up. And I only have 3 left. Oh, my favorite. Jeff, yo man, came to hear about these flicks while I work the rest of the day away. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Fuller happens to be the effects maestro who did the visual effects for Death o' Lantern the remake. And I think I have some more things that I would like Jeff to work on with us, if possible, Jeff. But yeah, so maybe we'll talk about, you can listen to me yap about some of this weird shit that I'm going to talk about. In turn, you can tell me about some of the weird shit you enjoy, everybody. Sean! Sean, hello, Sean. Sean's here. Sean's here. I'm going to pop this open. All right, so we got a few people in here. I have to savor this. I don't drink it fast, folks. I And then an ale like this, a hard cider like this, you you need to sip because I mean, it's like straight up drinking a pumpkin pie. You've heard me talk about this before. What I liken this drink to Christmas slash Halloween. It's like drinking Nightmare Before Christmas. Really, it's oh shit, it's wonderful. Woo! Good God, gotta hit you. Come on, motherfucker. Sean. So Sean, I got a couple fun gifties in the mail from this Sean fellow. He sent me The Wizard on Blu-ray, and he sent me this newer film, You Might Be the Killer. I'm gonna. I talked to Sean personally, but I thank him again for sending these flicks to me. I have The Wizard on DVD, but now I can get rid of the DVD. 1080p, baby. Or 4K. I've made that leap as well. Truth be told, my eyes don't see much of a difference. There's a little. It depends on what it is. But I mean, my projector downstairs, it's not 4K, but it's a top quality 1080p projector. Expensive projector. And I mean, that looks phenomenal compared to the 4K TV we got. Again, it just depends on what I'm watching. But yeah, Sean, I hope to dig this. You Might Be the Killer. I mean, The Wizard is, I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic Savage. 1989. 30 years of The Wizard. Insane. Same with Little Monsters. Why don't we have a Little Monsters Blu-ray? God damn it. That's what we need. That's my favorite Fred Savage film in the 80s. Then Vice Versa, and then The Wizard. Robert, I project onto a 120-inch fixed screen. The screen, I can't remember the company name. It's a popular one. It's one of the first ones to pop up on Amazon, but it's a fixed. It's a 1080p slash 4K bounce screen. It's made for top quality projection. 120 inches, looks phenomenal down there. That's right, Sean. The Power Glove is so bad. Yeah. Mm. 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 Savor that. Savor it. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we can certainly talk about 80s and toys and all that good stuff. I love any of that talk. So it doesn't have to be just regulated towards these weird ass gems that I got sitting next to me. Because just being in this room is just like nostalgia overload. So we gotta talk about the best decade of all time. Robert, okay, I'll break the movie ice. China O'Brien. Yeah. Cynthia Rothrock. Cynthia Rothrock. Yeah, she's all right. She's still kicking it, man. She's still going. Why's it gotta be a boys' club? You know what I'm saying? Cynthia Rothrock can still kick it. 60-something years old. Good for her, man. Curtis, I live for weird ass gems. As don't we all? In this group, don't we all? Like-minded folks. Eric McGowan, hello Eric! Did I watch Summer of '84? Yes, I did. Unfortunately, I did not like it. Yeah, I know a lot of people that did, uh, um, and I wanted to. I really did because of who I am and the things that I love, and I loved Turbo Kid, um, which was their previous film. I just honestly, I felt like they tried a little too hard to hit home that feel, and it didn't feel like the '80s to me. I don't think the kids felt like it. The dialogue certainly didn't. The way they were acting, it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't work for me. There was a couple cool things that I enjoyed, but overall, it was just kind of meh. For me, the people that are really hitting home that aesthetic are the Duffer Brothers with Stranger Things. Obviously, I love the Goldbergs. Um, those things, I relate to that. I see that. I lived that. So it feels authentic to me. I mean, Goldberg's obviously has that ABC sitcom polish to it, but the things that happening, certainly Adam, as I said before, I think me and Adam Goldberg would probably hit it off. Like, I mean, we'd be best friends. It was so much of his life mirrors my own. Um, Certainly not as adults. He is a successful writer, producer, director, and I am not. But his growing up, the things that he loved, the being, making films from a very early age, all that stuff is very same on point. It's on point. That's right, Cynthia Rothrock, honor and glory. You know who I really love in those cheesy. I probably should have put them here because I don't know a lot of people who even know of them. Certainly, there's not a lot of talk. I mean, my group of friends certainly know the Andy Sedaris films. Um, yeah, they should be in this list, but his movies, man, they're so hilarious. Just boobs and action, action and boobs, all set around the same area. They all kind of intertwine. It's its own cinematic universe. The Andy Sedaris films. You should check it out. You can get all 12 of them on a really cheap set on Amazon with special features. And now, finally, insanely, they're starting to come out on Blu-ray, cleaned up, extras, 1080p. It's insane. Beautiful. Can't wait. Eric, I was hoping for an It teaser during Super Bowl. No luck. I didn't think they would, just because it's so far away. Since it's coming out in October, September, October, something like that. But yes, I cannot wait. It Chapter 2 is gonna. I think it's gonna be phenomenal. I absolutely loved what they did with the first It. I talked about it a little on the last live show. So good. Jeff, yes, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. That's one of the first blue Andy Sedaris Blu-rays that it's coming. Insane. So cool. That movie's ridiculous. A gem I love that is starting to sort of pop its head out because of the Blu-ray that happened the last couple of years. But Never Too Young to Die. That's a movie that I have loved for many, many, many years. Only on VHS and then bootleg DVD. But that's a gem, and that is out there now on Blu-ray, thanks to Shout Factory. Uh, but Never Too Young to Die is a action movie from 1986 with John Stamos as like a James Bondian spy, and it's got Vanity and Gene Simmons as a hermaphroditic evildoer who wants to pollute the world's water supply. It's fantastic. Robert Englund is in it as is like the bad guy's name is Ragnar, and Robert Englund plays his like geeky computer hacker dude. But back in 2011, 2010, maybe it was 2010. Oh no, it was 2011. When I was shutting down LBP, and we did this big like fans came out. It was a big event at a theater up in Syracuse, New York. Basically saying goodbye to LBP and everything. So we did an LBP marathon on the big screen. Fans came from all over to see it. And then the last movie of the night was a 35 millimeter print of Never Too Young to Die that I contacted the director and set it all up, and it was his personal 35 millimeter print that he sent for us knuckleheads to show at this LBP event. But if you haven't seen it, give it a shot, guys. If you like terrible, cheesy 80s action movies, check out Never Too Young to Die. I really enjoy how bad it is, but it's an entertaining movie. So that's a gem. Robert, yeah, Deadly Friend is also great. That's pretty low on people's lists as far as Wes Craven movies are concerned, but I really enjoy Deadly Friend. I don't like a lot of his movies, actually. I mean, the biggest being Nightmare on Elm Street, really. I love that movie. That is, I mean, we're going to talk about the Freddy movies on a different episode of it, Crept From the 80's, because it was such a huge thing for me now and then. I like People Under the Stairs. I like Swamp Thing. Nobody talks about Swamp Thing, but I actually really enjoy Swamp Thing. But Deadly Friend is stupid fun. Silly as fuck. Christy Swanson. Yeah, that basketball scene alone in Deadly Friend is so choice. It was like they didn't even care. Yes, you just mentioned it. The basketball, yes. To Mama Fratelli. I mean, who moves like that? Only, some guy puppeteering shoulders and a blood tube, and I don't know, goofy as hell. So, okay, we got a few people in here, so I'll start talking about some of these underappreciated, or not too many people might know about them or give them the time of day, but I love them. So let's start. I mean, I guess I did say Never Too Young to Die, which is great. But I talk a little about this. I just shot the last of the big movie collection videos, and I will edit that, and that'll go up next week sometime. But I do talk about this movie. Oh wait, let's see. Random and dream. I'm late to the show. This is Matt on here. Probably can't be on too long, sadly. It seems I came in a good time though. 80's cheesiness and horror. I mean, I really just started at 6, Matt. So you're all good. And we're just getting things going. I'll be here for till like 9 o'clock. So this, I've talked about this before, but I absolutely loved this movie when it came out on VHS. I rented it all the time until I got a second VCR, and then I started just dubbing all of the stuff that I rented. But this and the sequel as well. But this, 1988, I love this movie, The Unnameable. And Unearthed Classics MVD Visual just released this ridiculously awesome looking 4K transfer of The Unnameable. based on H.P. Lovecraft. His tales of woe and macabre horror. This is just a fun, cheesy monster movie from 1988. Creepy, and this is like the best it's ever looked. Actually, it looks so good that I mean you can clearly see some of the makeup lines and where the prosthetics are glued and things of that nature. But it didn't matter. I loved it. I'm not too impressed with how they handled the extras on this disc. It, I mean, if you have it, you know what I'm talking about. It was just kind of meh. But the fact that they put it on Blu-ray, the fact that it looks so good and sounds so good, you can't beat it. So, Unnameable is one of those movies. I love this movie. There's a spot in the movie that used to freak me out, and no matter how many times I saw it, I'd always get, caught off guard by it because she comes out of the darkness, the creature, and she has this like creepy ass scream throughout the film. And then two did like what a lot of 80s movies did, is they with the sequel they made it a little more comical. So the sequel came out 5 years later, so that's a early 90s movie. Same cast, but they added John Rhys Davies to it. And Julie Strain was the monster. Same creature, but Julie Strain was portraying the monster. Sad about Julie Strain, actually. She is... Yeah. Sad stuff going on with Julie Strain. Army Pants Fancy, please tell me you don't make out with the Punky Brewster doll. I don't make out with the Punky Brewster doll. Is that what you want to hear? Punker. VHS Bootleg. Hey, been watching for a while, but always missed the live streams. Hello, VHS Bootleg. Thank you for joining us. Tonight it's a mishmash of 80s talk and nostalgia and toys and all that good stuff, and lost, or not lost, but gems that I love that might be underappreciated and people may not know about them, but I love them. And I'd love to hear from all you guys too. But yeah, Unnameable. Jeff Fuller, I'm pumped for this list. I've got a Seaver's Hidden Gems doc going. Well, so I said Never Too Young to Die, The Unnameable, and Unnameable 2. It's not as good as the first one, but it's good. Greg, hey Chris, how's it going? Do you remember the Ice Pirates? Hey Greg. I do. I do remember Ice Pirates. The cover, surely, the cover was great. The cover looked like a straight up, maybe it was Drew Struzan who did the amazing cover art to that. Maybe it wasn't. Drew Struzan is if you're a kid of the 80s, come on now. He's a god. I was lucky enough to meet Drew Struzan 2 years ago now, and he was phenomenal. He signed my Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom poster. Army Pants Fancy. Well, you're definitely watching a straight up weirdo. That's for sure. So let's get thick. Let's keep going, right, guys? Let's talk about some more gems, as far as I'm concerned, that I absolutely love, but maybe people don't know about them, or gave them a look a long time ago and haven't given them a second look. You never know. You never know. Some of them might not be obscure to you at all. I'm just saying, in social circles and in people that maybe not in my immediate group of friends might not know about this stuff. When I say these movies, I get a lot of, what are you talking about? What's that? So I thought it would just be a fun subject to bust out. This is Well, this isn't. See, I only added this to the list because just recently I met, I want to say like three people consecutively around the same time that had never heard of this movie, which is bonkers to me. Um, but again, you know, my childhood was the entirety of the 80s. I soaked up that pop culture like nobody's business, so I have always known about this film and I love this film. I'm talking about Explorers. So it shocks me when people are like, I don't, what is Explorers? What? Ethan Hawke, River Phoenix as kids going off on crazy, directed by Joe Dante? How don't I know about Explorers? Explorers, man. And next year it's going to be celebrating its 35th anniversary. Fantastic. Where's this Blu-ray, huh? I have the VHS that I've had forever. This DVD that's been out since when DVDs were popular. But when they started becoming popular, like, we need a cleaned up special edition. Joe Dante commentary, everything. I love this movie. You guys know Explorers, right? Right? Jeff, I'll try to bring up the deepest cuts. First off, Greg Lamberson flick, Slime City, New York Vampire, Naked Fear. Well, that's the really like indie. I didn't really pick any of that stuff. That stuff surely people would not know about. Um, if I brought out any of those indie films from indie horror filmmakers. This is more like stuff that you could readily sort of know about or get. Army Pants Fancy, My Science Project. That's what I'm talking about. People might not know about that film. Fisher Stevens. Well, Fisher Stevens, come on, Fisher Stevens in Short Circuit. That character is not racist at all. Greg, you're still talking about Ice Pirates? Jeff, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen Ice Pirates in a very long time either. Um, but come on, do you guys know Explorers? Anybody? I mean, how do people not know that fucking movie? It's so great. Greg, you have not heard of The Explorers. Man, well, if you love movies that feel like 80s Spielberg movies and creatures and sweet special effects by Rob Bottin, kids going on a wild adventure, creating a spaceship, it's fucking dope. You gotta get on that. Yeah, it's crazy. Philadelphia Experiment. Michael Pare. VHS bootleg, you gotta get on that. If you like that sort of thing. Again, this is about discovering, stuff that you may or may not want to give it give a shot. These are just movies that I absolutely love and have loved for a very long time. Jeff Fuller, Explorers would be fantastic with Flight of the Navigator. People have heard of Flight of the Navigator. Come on now. Come on now. Compliance. Hmm? Huh? Paul Rubens? The voice of a spaceship? Come on. Disney? That Blu-ray's been sitting on my wish list, my Amazon wish list, since that Blu-ray came out. Flight of the Navigator. Love that movie. Curtis, good. Yes, Explorers. HBO. So I saw a lot of movies I wasn't supposed to see growing up in the 80s. Whew. Greg. Okay, good. Just give it a shot. Watch it again for the first time. So good. Okay, let's get some more thickness. Um. Oh, these movies. I mean, I'm sure people. I'm sure, but I don't know. It's just weird. You never know if people know these films or not. But talking about the Guyver movies, Guyver 1 and 2, um, based on the manga and the anime from many moons ago. Um, Steve Wang, the effects master. I'm going to talk about Steve Wang again, actually, but Steve Wang is a true, amazing artiste. He co-wrote and co-directed the Guyver films. And if you love dope-ass special effects, practical effects, monsters, Mark Hamill, Michael Berryman, Linnea Quigley, but just dope-ass, Japanese style, biomech suits and creatures. The Guyver movies are where it's at. 2, I like a little more. Well, 1 I think is the better film, and that's saying something. But 2, they went like full on R-rated and went super bloody and gory with the monster carnage, and I like that a lot more. And this one stars David Hayter as the Guyver, and he is co-responsible for writing the X-Men films, the earlier X-Men films. And I guess he's the voice of what's his name there? For you modern video game peeps, Snake, right? Metal Gear, whatever. I don't follow that stuff. VHS bootleg. Watch the Bob Lazar UFO doc. The ship he described is just like Flight of the Navigator. Greg, speaking of HBO, do you remember Star Wars spoof trailer called Hardware Wars? Yeah. I've seen Hardware Wars. It's fine, but I do know what you're talking about. That won like a crap ton of awards. It's basically considered the first Star Wars fan film. Jeff, agreed. I absolutely love him in Body Bags, Mark Hamill. In fact, I like most of his little weird performances here and there that popped up in the mid to late 80s and early 90s. I mean, he's in one of the Watchers sequels. He's in Village of the Damned, you know. Curtis, you're damn right. Those Guyver films, VHS Blackest Heart. I miss Blackest Heart. I talk about Blackest Heart media all the freaking time. Again, most people don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That magazine, that catalog, that was Mecca for a kid in the mid '90s. That and Film Threat catalog. Sean, yeah, Solid Snake. Well, that voice is the lead actor in this, and he wrote some of the X-Men, co-wrote some of the X-Men movies. Man, that stuff's good. Okay, we'll keep going. This is, everybody knows this. This isn't really that, like, underappreciated or not known. I just wanted to talk about it because I love the film, and I wish there was a Blu-ray release of this. I'm shocked that Scream Factory or another boutique company have not put this out yet, but this is Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. VHS, DVD, but no Blu-ray. I want a Blu-ray with special features. This is essentially, and they've said it too. Stephen King and George Romero have said it, that this is essentially their Creepshow 3, but obviously based on their television show Tales from the Dark Side, which is also fantastic. But this movie, again, you've all heard of it. I just wish it got more love, and I wish it got the attention of some of those boutique Blu-ray companies. Because, man, I love this movie. So good. Oh, there's one, Sean, for you. This is a great anthology film. Greg, absolutely, 100%. I did too. Robert, talking about Stephen King, Cat's Eye. I like Cat's Eye. I like that particular story with the little gnome, the little elven creature who gets chopped up in the fan. That's my favorite story in Cat's Eye. Random, it's been ages since I've seen Tales from the Dark Side. Have you seen the actual Creepshow 3 movie? I don't know what you're talking about, because as far as that, whatever that Creepshow 3 is, to me, that is not the actual Creepshow 3. That thing is a piece of fucking garbage. Those people who got those rights back then and just kept churning out sequels to Romero's flicks, thank God that shit's not in their hands anymore. Like, that shit was straight up garbage. Fucked up. Big Beefcake Gaming! Big Beefcake Entertainment. Big Beefcake. He is here. Check out Big Beefcake Entertainment on YouTube, guys. He's a great dude. Great dude. Genuine, nice, moist fellow. He's got a great channel. Very good dude. Yes, Tales from the Dark Side is a fantastic, fantastic movie. Yes, Random. I mean, I'm telling you, all those garbagey, you know, shot in a weekend sequels with, you know, a budget I wish I had for the movies that I made. Wouldn't churn out that fucking shit, that's for sure. Yes, very moist indeed. Again, this is a movie that I absolutely adore, and I watch it every single year. People have heard of this, of course. I'm just bringing it up because I wish there was a Blu-ray of this movie. I'm talking about April Fool's Day, 1986. A Paramount classic, as far as I'm concerned, like a Paramount horror, when they were churning out Friday the 13th left and right. They gave us this gem. I love it. A lot of horror fans don't like it, and I remember growing up, certainly reading in Fangoria, and you know, when I was getting into my teens and hearing like friends' brothers talk about this movie, they were like really like pissed off about the ending of the film. But I always loved it. Always loved it. And I just wish this got like a special edition Blu-ray. I think it's clever. I think it's fantastic. April Fool's Day. But again, people know this movie. I want that Blu-ray. I want it to look special, cleaned up. It deserves it. I think it's fantastic. Yes, Robert. Happy birthday to me. Greg, Deborah Foreman. Hell yeah, Deborah Foreman. I mean, it's a who's who. It is a who's who. Yeah, man. Great movie. Great movie. God damn, I don't want this to end. I've only got 2 more left. 2 more left. So good. Let's continue, shall we? This movie. I saw this twice in theaters. I'm a big fan of the Zucker brothers. I've told this so many times, but I grew up with a mom and uncles who were just goofy as shit. The reason I am the way I am and the humor that I have and the weirdness is all because of them. So very early on, I would get shown Monty Python and the Zucker Brothers stuff, spoofs, all that, the parodies, everything. This is not a Zucker Brothers production, but this is a spoof. This is an early 90s film, and I absolutely love it. I think it's so funny to this day. And this is, I mean, I have this on a 4-disc set with like the 3 Police Academy films that I absolutely hate. But I have this disc because of National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, the Lethal Weapon spoof with Samuel L. Jackson and Emilio Estevez. I fucking love this movie. I think it's so good. It's so clever. Still great to this day. But yeah, I fucking hate. My Police Academies are 1 through 4, and that's it. That's it. But come on, you guys know of Loaded Weapon 1? Robert, I am going to talk about Top Secret because people do not talk about that goddamn movie, and I love Top Secret, but yes. Jeff, hell yeah, so you know Loaded Weapon 1, you got that. There's just great gags in it that still make me laugh today. I will randomly just think of some of the weird little sight gags and stuff that happens in this movie and just burst out laughing. My friend Clint, a good friend Clint, we have an affinity for Loaded Weapon 1. But anybody? Loaded Weapon 1? You guys? You know the passion? Pleasure, the pain. There's even a little weird ass little cameo by Corey Feldman in Loaded Weapon 1. He plays a cop on the street. There's a New Line Cinema too. New Line Cinema put it out. Yeah, William Shatner, Tim Curry. Tim Curry is hilarious. Wilderness Girls. So good. I don't know. But yeah, see, I mean, like, when it's great because I show a lot of people these movies that have never heard of them, and they are just like, either they're like, oof, no thanks, that was not for me, or they're like, where has this movie been all my life, you know? So I love watching other people discover it for the first time when I'll sit down and just be like, check it. You know? Greg, yeah, we might as well talk about it, but yes, this is another underappreciated film throughout the years. I mean, from the late 80s on, I have talked about this movie to so many people, and they're just like, what the hell is that? This was the Zucker Brothers' second big spoof parody movie, starring Val Kilmer, when Val Kilmer was the best Val Kilmer, man. Early 80s to 88, best Val Kilmer. And then he got serious and he lost all of his fun. But holy shit, the Zucker Brothers, I've said it before, Airplane is my favorite comedy of all time, but this is close. This is a close second, and by the same people. There is some truly brilliant stuff in this movie. This is celebrating 35 years. This is the 35th anniversary, and there is no Blu-ray of this fucking movie. Boggles my mind. Yes, Greg, the forced perspective phone scene is funny. There's one of the most there's two amazing sight gags, weird bits. There's a lot, but I'm talking about two that are just like, they wanted the joke so bad that they went to the lengths to to get those laughs. One is a scene with Peter Cushing, and I don't want to give it away, but if you know what I'm talking about, it is brilliant. It is so good. And then the other one takes place underwater, and it's an entire scene, and it's phenomenal. Top secret. I can't say enough about this fucking movie. So good. Yes, Robert, but I don't. If people haven't seen it, I don't want to like. It's so good. David, hello, David. How are you? You're here. Big Beefcake. Yeah, man. Like Val was fantastic in Tombstone. He's great in Heat. But early '80s Val Kilmer, and then up till Willow, he's great. He's fun and he's lighthearted and he's a fantastic comedian, physical comedian as well. And then he made The Doors, and like suddenly he became an actor. You know. Now I think he's finally, with age and everything, I think he's like mellowing out and he's getting more of that, sense of humor. And he has a one-man show about Mark Twain that he does that is fantastic, and it's hilarious. But there's that space and time there where Val Kilmer was just fucking serious Val Kilmer, and people hated working with him, and that's rough. Hi, hello. Skeet surfing. Yeah, I've got that soundtrack too. I've got the Top Secret soundtrack. Thanks for reminding me. Loaded Weapon, the backwards scene in Top Secret is my favorite. Yeah, it's genius. Mad Mardigan. David, no love for the Saint? No. Nope, no love for the Saint. Arm Pads Fancy, Real Genius. Classic. Real Genius is a classic. Again, no Blu-ray. Goddamn shame. I would have brought up Real Genius, but I feel like everybody knows Real Genius. So let's get in a little more in here. Okay, in the same vein, I can't tell you how many times I've shown people this movie because they're like, what the fuck is that? Super underappreciated and super not really known, as at least even some of my geekiest, most loved friends never knew this movie existed until I showed it to them. And I have adored this movie since the late 80s. And this is Amazon Women on the Moon. Now we've got a producer of parody films and all that good stuff, but we've also got some amazing comedy filmmakers and genre filmmakers, John Landis, Joe Dante. This movie, it's a parody. It's like if you're watching like a Saturday afternoon on like a WPIX or a Channel 9 or something back then, when it was just shitty local commercials and then shitty TV shows, and then a bad Saturday afternoon B movie or something like that. But it's all of that sort of strung together. It's skits, fake TV shows. It's all on a television, but it's spoofy. It's ridiculous. Amazon Women on the Moon. I fucking love this movie. It smacks of Kentucky Fried Movie. Yes, well, the Zucker brothers, Abrams, John Landis, they made Kentucky Fried Movie before Airplane, which is also fantastic. But yeah, anybody? You guys seen this? It's really hilarious. You guys should check it out. I think there's a Blu-ray to this. I think there is. And if there is, I need to give myself 40 lashes for not owning it because I adore it. I also used to have the theatrical poster to this, and somebody stole it. I could only assume because there's no way I would lose it. But going through like apartment to apartment throughout the years, house to house, whatever, maybe, but I think somebody just straight up stole it from me. Sean, my favorite spoof is Dracula Dead and Loving It. The last big Mel Brooks. Look at me. I'm drinking wine and eating chicken. Jeff, oh, Amazon Women on the Moon? Give it a shot. Give it a shot. Straight up stupidity. Curtis, Amazon Women, yeah, this is turning into a trip down memory lane for HBO. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these movies I saw on HBO in the 80s, early 90s, or I just rented them. Because I was like, whoa, these look fucking weird or crazy. Jeff, favorite spoof of mine, Bloodbath in the House of Death. That's funny, like, I remember one time we were watching that over at my grandma Bowker's house. This was probably late 80s or early 90s. And it was on USA. And cousin Casey, who plays Teen-Ape, he's about 5 years younger than me. So I would always bring over stuff. I would always like bring horror and weird stuff to grandma's house. But that movie, I remember because we would sleep down in the basement. The basement was like the cool kids' basement at grandma's house. It had everything. It was dope. But I remember turning that movie on, and it it like terrified Casey to where he was like crying. You know, like, turn it off, Chris, turn it off. And it's ridiculous. Greg, good, absolutely, man. It's a classic. Give it a shot, people. So, we talked about that. What else did we talk about? We talked about that. So let's move that aside. Here's another one that, I mean, you all may have heard of it, but this is something that most of my friends had never heard of. It's not something that they saw growing up. They didn't watch it or even know that it existed, but I watched it. I watched it probably a couple years after it came out. This came out in 1987. And it was actually shot like 1985 or 86 or something like that. But anyway, I didn't see it until, VHS a couple years later. It was still in the 80s, so 89 maybe 90, but Whitewater Summer. And I've got friends who absolutely love Kevin Bacon. And, I would talk about this movie, and they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, Kevin Bacon, Sean Astin, kid from, one of Mike's friends from Growing Pains, the older brother from the first season of Charles in Charge. You don't know Whitewater Summer? But I love it. I think it's great. Styles' brother from Teen Wolf, Matt Adler. Anybody? This is like, this movie, Kevin Bacon is a straight up asshole in this movie. I guess he's like this nature dude. He takes kids out into the wilderness to teach them how to survive, and it's like a course. Parents are okay with it. They pay him to do this, and he takes them out, and he wants them to become a man. He wants them to be able to survive if they're ever lost out in the fucking woods, I guess. And he's just a straight up ass to mostly Sean Astin in the movie, because Sean is playing this like meek like nerd, and he doesn't want to go, but his parents are making him go. And then basically all the kids end up hating Kevin Bacon until something happens. They have to put aside some differences and basically save the day. But it is a fucking weird ass movie, but I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, do it, man. It's weird. It's got some Sweet Journey in here. Whitewater Summer. I don't know. Yeah, I showed, because I also do these not just Saturday morning sleepovers, but I do these Saturday night sleepovers, and I do these movie marathons as well, 80s movie marathons, and this was one of them that I picked for a recent one, and the majority of the people in the room had no idea what this fucking movie was. But they ended up like loving it and all agreeing that Kevin Bacon is a straight up, douche turd in the film. Greg, do you remember a movie from 1980, Super Fuzz? Yep, it's a comedy about a cop who gets superpowers from a nuclear explosion but loses them from time to time in The Color Red. Yes, it was a Canadian film. I do remember it. Doesn't have I don't think it has an official release, at least not here in the States. Super Fuzz. That reminds me of Fuzz Bucket. You guys remember Fuzz Bucket? Do you guys remember the Sunday night Disney night at the movies? The Disney, they would do these, they did Mr. Boogedy and Bride of Boogedy, and they would just do these. They did Bigfoot with Candace Cameron. It was just a big fucking thing in the 80s that they did these Disney. Fuzz Bucket was one of them. Ah, yes, I'll check out Whitewater Summer. Yeah, again, this is just stuff that I really love and that I am familiar with throughout my growing up. Doesn't mean everyone out there is going to enjoy them. I just, it might be nostalgia goggles. Arm pads fancy. Yeah, the stuff is great. A classic Coen film. All right. Ooh. Now this other. This movie came out in 1997. I probably saw it on. Actually, no. The first time I saw this movie it was a blind, like a blind buy. Again, I'm talking about Blackest Heart Media. Blackest Heart Media was this catalog in the 90s, mid 90s to late 90s. And they specialized in import or bootleg VHS, mostly horror, exploitation, really gross shit that you couldn't see. A lot of foreign stuff. And I would order, I think I started getting stuff from Blackest Heart like 93. But I would order stuff from them, and they would have a lot of stuff that you just never heard of. And so probably I saw this on a Blackest Heart import bootleg VHS, probably in 1999. And then it's funny because after I got it, I ended up seeing it several times on like HBO or Showtime. But this is the Steve Wang film Drive. Again, I have shown this movie to a lot of people over the years. They've never heard of it. It's fucking great. This is like a sci-fi martial arts movie written by Scott Phillips, who actually is a friend of mine, Scott. I ended up writing a short movie with him called Scream Science Bastard Scream, a sequel to his short film Science Bastard. Um, but I started talking to him back in probably the early 2000s. It might have been right around this time. Anyway, and we just struck up a friendship, and he loves the LBP stuff, um, and he wrote a Friday the 13th novel that is out of print. It's been out of print for a long time, but that one is called Church of the Divine Psychopath. But in that novel, he wrote me and a bunch of my friends who in LBP, who are in my movies, that he loved so much. He loved characters from my films. So we ended up putting our real names in the Friday the 13th novel. So I get killed by Jason while I'm having sex with somebody in this Friday the 13th novel. And my dialogue is very much how I wrote my dialogue for my movies back in the day. So it's awesome. So in a small way, I'm a part of the Friday the 13th legacy out there. Anyway, Scott Phillips wrote Drive. Kadeem Hardison, Mark Dacascos, the brilliant effects master Steve Wang, who did the Guyver movies, but also he's an effects legend. The man is an effects legend. But he did this fucking movie, and it is fantastic. Some of the sweetest kick-ass martial arts camera work, just so good. I adore this movie. This is the UK. When this DVD came out, I had to get it. This was a long time ago. This is the UK unrated version. It's got a ton of special features, and I've, again, Scott Phillips is a friend of mine, so he signed this one for me. But Steve Wang, who directed this and directed the Guyvers and everything, he is the person. He ended up liking some LVP movies as well, so he and I have corresponded throughout the years too. But he was the person who gave us the name for Destruction Kings, which is one of my movies from back in like 2004, 2005. But it was a name that the Japanese were using for Drive, and he's like, well, there's no U.S. Copyright or license for it, so he's like, your Teen Ape and Bonejack movie should be called Destruction Kings, and that's where that came from Steve Wang. So, Drive, brothers, check it out. It is amazing. But that's just me. Jeff, Beastmaster. I guess people wouldn't know what Beastmaster is, but I love Beastmaster. Not as much as I love V. Mark Singer. Sean, that's awesome. Nice. Jeff, nice. You're 3 for 3 on the new ones for me. Keep them coming. That's right, Mark. Sing up. Okay. Let's talk about this movie. Well, again, this is another. I think lots of people have seen this movie. Well, maybe I don't know. Again, I don't know. And this probably has a Blu-ray, and if it does, I'm once again giving myself 40 lashes because I should own it. But I don't hear it talked about enough. But I absolutely love it. This is the Rutger Hauer, Ice-T, Gary Busey film, Surviving the Game. Look at this. This is the original DVD that I got when this fucking movie came out. I saw this movie in theaters with one of my uncles. Because every now and again, back in the day, we would do like we would, I don't know, we just did a lot of movies together. So did my mom and myself. And then early on in the 80s, it was my aunt and myself, or my grandma, who hated taking me to the movies. And then at like 88, 87, 88, 89, I just started going to the movies by myself. But this was my uncle and I would watch a bunch of action movies that were coming out. So this is one of them. And I fell in love with it. It's a riff on the Most Dangerous Game, Surviving the Game. This movie is To me, it is straight up awesome cheese action. Uh, but it's fantastic, guys. It really is. There's great performances in this fucking movie. New Line Cinema, bringing it home back in the day. Ice-T is great, but the standout performance, unfortunately, I don't want to give it away, but unfortunately, he's not in the movie as long as he should be. But the standout performance in this, for me, is Gary Busey. There is a scene where he sits down and talks about, he's got this monologue, and the way it's shot, it's just, it feels like it's a long scene, like long monologue, but it really isn't if you just sit back and watch it. But you get so invested in what he's saying. He's just so good. And you fans of this movie, if you know it, then you know what I'm talking about. That scene is phenomenal. But it's great. But this is an Ernest Dickerson film. The guy who directed Demon Knight, folks, which I love, directed Surviving the Game. Let's go over here. Always check the barrel. Yeah, so people know it. Great. Yes, I've got this on VHS. Sean, always check the barrel. Yes. Jeff, Mason, you're mine. Jeff. Gary, yes. Gary Busey's monologue. I'm talking about it. Arm Pants Fancy. Dennis Quaid. Dreamscape. Yeah, that's another movie that a lot of people have never seen. I don't own it. I've probably seen it about 2-3 times. Demon Knight is another epic flick. Oh, I'm almost gone. All right, let's see. This was from 2000. Again, I saw this from a import from Blackest Heart Media. Because it was not available here in the U.S., but it had premieres in England. But it's directed by Mike Mendez, who is a filmmaker I adore, and I had been corresponding with for years and years and years, and I was lucky enough to finally meet him last year, and we had a great time. We went out and had some chicken and waffles. We went toy hunting. We bonded over toys and stupid movies and shit, because he and Mike Mendez, Ryan Turek, who was Ryan Rotten, and Dave Parker used to have, like, I guess LBP nights, and they would watch a lot of my earlier LBP flicks and, you know, appreciate them and find some fun in them. And early on, they let me know about that, and that just flipped me out. And so, but Mike Mendez made this movie, and I love it. It's called The Convent. It just recently is getting some fun, like, theatrical screenings, which I hope means Mike has hinted at it, but I hope an actual Blu-ray is coming of The Convent. But it's basically a riff on Night of the Demons. It's nuns, it's wacky characters. Adrienne Barbeau, who I fucking love, she's fantastic. It's splattery. It's got a lot of sweet visuals. It's just fun and funny. It's just it just fits right in with that style. So it's a great movie. The Convent. Check it out, folks. This. When did this? I got this DVD back. I mean, you know, you can tell these old DVDs. I wonder if this was a flip side. No, this wasn't a flip side where you had to flip it on the other side back in the day. But, yeah, The Convent. All right, I gotta just go to the bathroom real quick. So there's gonna be some fun dead air. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Curtis, I have The Convent on DVD too. Yay! Then you know. You know. The magic of the Mike Mendez. Alright. You guys. Let's talk about this movie. This probably falls into that category of maybe people have heard of it, maybe not, but I certainly ended up showing people this movie because they had never heard of it. I think this movie probably was in my theater for like a week and then it was gone, but I saw it. But this is a movie written by John Hughes, produced by John Hughes, not directed by John Hughes, but it feels like John Hughes. This is called Career Opportunities. I love this movie. This is 1990, 1991. Jennifer Connelly, Frank Whaley, takes place in a Target. But folks, Jennifer Connelly in this movie. Now, we all knew Jennifer Connelly. You know, we know the Phenomenon. We know Labyrinth. We know that Jennifer Connelly. We grew up with that Jennifer Connelly. But boy, did we grow up with Jennifer Connelly in Career Opportunities. This is the movie that made me... I had a bad crush on this version of Jennifer Connelly. Luckily, she still looked like this in The Rocketeer and a couple movies after that. And then, like, you know, Hollywood really got a hold of her and she became a stick. But this, she was developing into a real woman, if you know what I mean. And she is just mesmerizing in this movie. And the comedy is spot on. It's so good. Great performances. Silly, ridiculous performances. I just love this movie. And any chance I can get, if people have any like ounce of interest in this, I'm like, well, we gotta watch it. So good. Career Opportunities. A great, underappreciated gem written by John Hughes. Man, Jennifer Connelly. That's right. That's right. Arm pants fancy. Hot, hot, hot indeed. Man, she's magical. All right. This... I don't know. I think I might be one of 5 people on the planet who actually really like this movie. I just do. But I also have a real affinity for the filmmaker. His name is Anthony Hickox, who I will be doing a Crept from the 80's episode about Anthony Hickox, because I love his mid-80s to almost mid-90s output of horror that he did. He's just a real talent in my book. So he made this movie. This was a bunch of movies back to back that he was churning out, and this was a movie for HBO. And this was a movie that I remember reserving the moment I was able to reserve it on VHS when it was coming out. This movie's called Full Eclipse. I really, really enjoy this movie. This movie is from 1993. This is celebrating... Well, not... I guess that would have been last year. But anyway, 1993, folks. This is basically... This is like a a horror X-Men werewolf movie. um, I mean, it's directed out the ass. I mean, Anthony Hickox did such a good job with this movie, visually, with the camera work, with the special effects. I mean, there's some, goofy special effects in there near the end of the film, but overall, it's just such an odd, weird movie. But I really, really love it. If you want to see Mario Van Peebles play an X-Men werewolf, this is the movie for you. Ah, VHS bootleg, 6 people. Okay, so you're in the army of full eclipse lovers. I just think it's great. Curtis, you've seen it. Good, yeah. Full eclipse. Anthony Hickox, guys. Anthony Hickox seemed to have he worked a lot with the same people, but he liked to put a lot of the same actresses in the movies. So this was like the 3rd time he worked with Paula Marshall, and it was like Warlock Armageddon, and then Hellraiser 3. Well, it actually was Hellraiser 3, Warlock Armageddon, and then Full Eclipse. Paula Marshall's also beautiful. But Full Eclipse, right? Mario Van Peebles. Back in the day, back in my earlier films, I always had a sight gag in the movies, and we made this cereal box called Mario Van Pebbles. They're Mario Vantastic. And he was on the front, and we made up this mock cereal box, and that was always like as a prop in the background for some of the films that the actors would use in my stuff. Mario Van Pebbles. Okay, this is another movie. The first time I saw this was probably, I want to say 1991 or 1992, maybe. This movie is from 1989, produced by Charles Band. It's celebrating its 30th anniversary. And since I saw this movie, I have been nuts for it. So I saw it the first time on USA Up All Night, and the title was I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. That was the title that I saw it under. And then a few years later, this title was introduced, but everything like on the VHS was like, wait, this is I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. Why is it called Dr. Alien? Well, folks, it's the same movie, and it's directed by Dave Dakota. It has Stuart Fracken in it, Billy Jacoby, or Billy Jane, who was in a bunch of 80s, 90s stuff. Most, for me, famously, he played young Beastmaster, but he's also Mikey from Parker Lewis Can't Lose. But he's in this movie. It is a sex comedy. It's about these aliens who are testing out this sex radar thing, this alien thing that pops out with this potion. This alien probe pops out of his head and attracts women. And then the guy is like, it's insatiable. The guy has sex with all these women because of this pheromone probe that's out of his head. But I love it. I love this movie. And I mean, nobody, even in my friend set, who are all geeky nerds and horror freaks, they didn't know this movie, but I absolutely did. And I love it. And I wish, because Charlie Band, the Full Moon, those guys, Dave Dakota has done so many of those movies and have redone them, remastered them for Blu-rays. And there has not been a Blu-ray remaster of Dr. Alien. But I really, really want one. I would love to make a sequel to this movie if I could. But give it a shot. If you love cheesy... Oh, it's got the Scream Queens in it. The magical, famous 80s Scream Queens in it as well. They don't do much in it, but cavort and shimmy. But and it's got a great song at the end that the character performs because he's in a metal band. It's called Killer Machine. But yeah, it's dope. It was originally, yes, it was originally. No, I have not seen it since the 90s. Yes, it was originally called "I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant," and actually in the movie, the band I believe is called Teenage Sex Mutants or the Sex Mutants or something like that. But yeah, the title of the movie, and I remember it because it was like all in neon and everything. It was like printed out in space neon. The opening of the film, "I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant." That was the up all night version that I saw when the first time I saw it. But no, you can get it as Dr. Alien. Good old Dave Dakota. You guys seeing these movies? You guys writing this stuff down? I don't know. I'll be. I would love to hear like later on a couple live shows. You guys come back and maybe have watched some of these films and let me know what you think of them. You know, you might be like, dude, Seaver, you like garbage. But I do. I'm warning you now. I like a lot of garbage. Straight up cheesy, trashy shit. It's just what I grew up with. Oh, yes, of course, Greg. Just one of the guys. Yes, he's the fucking brother, which is another amazing film. 1985. Just one of the guys. Billy Zabka. Jeff, The Hidden didn't make my list because I feel like, for the most part, you know, horror freaks know The Hidden. Kyle MacLachlan. But I do like The Hidden. Armpits, fancy teats. Teats indeed. Sweet teats. Let's see here. Okay. Let me do this one. This was a made-for-TV movie in 1985. I harp on this movie all the time. Not harp in a bad way, but harp in a good way, because I absolutely love it. And truth be told, it was my good friend Andrew Baltus that turned me on to this movie. Now, folks, as I said, I grew up in the entirety of the 80s. My childhood, my formative years was the 1980s. I became a teen going into the 90s, late 80s, 90s. And I considered myself quite the knowledgeable pop culture 80s freak, even you know, going into my teens and in the 90s, which I've talked about. I hated the 90s aesthetically. I still clung firmly onto the 80s, and I still do. But so believe me when I say I was absolutely shocked that this made-for-TV movie from 1985 passed me by. One, because of the subject matter. Two, because of the people in it. So I didn't see it until maybe 15 years ago, thanks to my good buddy Andrew. And that movie is The Midnight Hour. When I saw this, when he showed this to me, I just about, I had, I was so filled with delight and wonder and childlike awe, and then instantly ashamed because it just passed me by. Folks, this was a made-for-TV ABC night at the movies that I, Chris Seaver, somehow missed. But I made up for it, because once I saw this fucking movie, it became like an instant classic. I felt everything in this movie. It's cheesy. It is pure 80s. It is straight up, 25-year-olds playing 15, 16-year-olds. It is just so fucking good. It's a Halloween movie. It's like, it's got 50s music, but it's in the 80s. It's got Peter DeLuise and Dee Dee Pfeiffer and LeVar Burton playing fucking teenage. A ridiculous dance number, choreographed dance number. I just absolutely love it. With music by Brad Fiedel. Brad Fiedel, who did The Terminator, who did my favorite horror film of all time, Fright Night. He did the music to The Midnight Hour. Yes, The Midnight Hour. So you know, right? Greg, I would actually agree. I agree. Dee Dee and Michelle's beautiful, but Dee Dee had like this just something a little extra to her beauty. It was like a mischievous, cuteness to her as well. Jeff, please do yourself a favor. If you love cheesy 80s movies with 50s soundtrack set on Halloween, I mean, this movie is pure Halloween. So good. If you like Dancing in Heaven, and I'm not talking about some movie, I'm just saying Dancing in Heaven, you're gonna love The Midnight Hour. I watch this probably twice a year, every single year, since I first saw it. Frills! Frills is here, Midnight Hour rocks. You are absolutely correct, good sir. I'm done, it's gone. It's gone. Oh, how I savored you. I've only got 2 of these left. Greg, speaking of heaven, what about The Heavenly Kid? I never liked it. I don't own it. I never liked it, but that was certainly a movie back in the day. Another classic cover that you always saw at the video store. Okay, we got a few more of these gems that I love. Here's one from 1989, celebrating its 30th anniversary. This was a 1-2 punch for me. I remember it was I think my sister and I, and then maybe 2 of our friends. We saw this in the theater. This one, because I love Who's the Boss, and Tony Danza was basically one of 3 of my TV dads growing up. And 2, boy, did I have a crush on Amy Dolenz. So this movie came out in 1989. It's ridiculous, but I love it. And it was recently released on DVD. Well, not recently. It was like mid 2000. I was like mid 2004 or something like that. I don't know. When was this released? I don't know. 2000. Oh, it was 2004. So this movie is called She's Out of Control. It is a teen comedy. It's silly, it's weird, it's totally 80s. And it's basically Tony Danza trying to stop his daughter Amy Dolenz from constantly being a wild child and lascivious things happening to her from random sweet dudes. But I don't know. I really love it. Nobody talks about this movie. When I bring it up, nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. I've shown a couple people, and they were like, all right. you know. Again, I think if you just grew up with it, it's a nostalgia thing. Because not everyone's gonna go for, ooh, I'll take She's Out of Control, Tony Danza and Amy Dolenz. But I do. I love it. Ooh, it's another great movie that when the original DVD came out, I did have it for a while, and I probably ended up selling it. The only reason I could think of selling it was because I needed money at the time. But for the longest time, it wasn't available. You couldn't get it on DVD. But I did have the VHS. But this was a movie I saw in the theater as well. But very few people know what I'm talking about. But I love when people do know what I'm talking about. And this movie is called Stay Tuned. And it starred John Ritter. And it was kind of like Terror Vision, but kind of. But it was also skitty. It was also had some parodies because he went into his television. But it's an early 90s movie. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Stay tuned. And they just released it on Blu-ray. And I want that movie so goddamn bad. It's on my Amazon wish list, and I think it's a great early 90s, fun, weird-ass sci-fi comedy. I think it's great. Robert, Pleasantville-ish? Kinda. That's another movie I like that nobody talks about. Pleasantville. I think that movie's sweet. But Stay Tuned is far more like goofy and wild, and it's right around when Wayne's World was huge, and it's those types of early 90s wacky comedies, but with a sci-fi element, and it's great. Him and his family get sucked into the television, and every channel they get, it's just great. It's called Stay Tuned, and I want it. Want it. You know what else just came out on Blu-ray that I'm a giant fan of? Young Guns 2 just came out on Blu-ray. I love that fucking movie. I love both the Young Guns movies. In fact, that Young Guns Blu-ray needs to be updated. I have the original Lionsgate, the very first Blu-ray that came out, and they need to up that quality. But those Young Guns movies I fucking love. Young Guns 2 is also on my Amazon wish list. That Blu-ray, man, I can't wait. I want that movie. Reap the Whirlwind, Sheriff Brady. Greg, yeah, UHF is great, but again, I guess in the general public who don't follow Weird Al, they wouldn't know what UHF was, but I figured like you guys would know what UHF was, and I love UHF. That's a movie I saw in the drive-in when it came out. And the first time I ever saw the trailer to that movie was before Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom at the drive-in. No, not Temple of Doom. The Last Crusade. Stay Tuned was on Impact. I don't know what that is. I don't have cable or anything like that. Did you see the size of that, Jake? Did you see the size of that cockadoodle goddamn dude? Jeff, Estevez again, man. Estevez. Oh, here's another movie that I love, and either nobody knows about it or nobody likes it. It's called Free Jack. I think that movie's great. It was early 90s. Estevez, Mick Jagger, Anthony Hopkins. It's a sci-fi. It's crazy. Free Jack. That needs a Blu-ray. Does that have a Blu-ray? Ooh, I gotta check this out. Well, my phone's right here, but I gotta check that out. I would love a Blu-ray of Free Jack, but fuck yeah, Free Jack's dope. I saw that twice in the theater. I used to have the theatrical poster in my bedroom. I remember, like, I had this dude, Greg, who'd always be like, why the fuck you got Free Jack on your wall? I'm like, whatever. As opposed to all these other fucking weird-ass posters that I got on my wall, you, like, complaining about Free Jack. I had some stupid ass friends back in the day. Yes, Jeff Maximum over Esther Drive. Yeah. Remember, he was also in that Nightmare movie. This is the anthology, early 80s. He's a video game kid at the arcade. He's trying to take out the Repo Man himself. Greg, yeah, Young Guns 2 has a pretty decent soundtrack. I had that soundtrack, man. Come on. I had the soundtrack to Young Guns 1 as well. Mexican Indian, you son of a bitch. Man, I love those Young Guns movies. I just recently showed my wife the first Young Guns. She liked it. And for a while, I think you could see Young Guns 2 on like one of the streaming channels, but I didn't. I was like, no, I want to wait until we get this Blu-ray so we can watch it on the 4K screen because they upconvert and all that shit. Greg, you still have the Young Guns 2 soundtrack? Keep that shit. Yeah, man, that's what I had. Don't ever let that cassette go. Don't let cassettes go in general. Keep them safe to your breast, chest, neck, thighs. All right, here's another one. This movie, I remember the first time I reserved this movie, I rented this movie, and this was during like a hangout. I was 14 when this movie came out. But I still had sleepovers. I mean, I still have sleepovers now to this day, but it's just a bunch of your friends hanging out, eating shitty foods and watching movies. So, but I remember one of my friends, his name was Eric, and after we watched this movie, he was like, you know, he's like, I don't know how many more times I'm gonna let you pick the videos to watch when we go and rent them, because he was not happy with this movie, but I fell in love with this movie. It is obscure to most people, but I think cult fans really know this movie. It's called The Dark Backward. It is written and directed by Adam Rifkin, and it has Judd Nelson and Bill Paxton. Wayne Newton's in this movie. This is a weird ass, gross, but entertaining and visually cool, odd ass movie. This is just a weird ass movie, but I love it. I really love it. And it really made me sort of become an Adam Rifkin person. Like I would seek out, what is Adam Rifkin doing next? And I wasn't a fan of Detroit Rock City, which was sort of, I guess, his big break movie. But I didn't really like it. Because I prefer more of his weird ass shit. He also did The Invisible Maniac under a pseudonym. But The Dark Backward is just bizarre. It is basically about, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give it away, because there's a lot of weird to discover in this movie. But fantastic performances, and Bill Paxton. Oh, Crom, love him. Bill Paxton in this movie. He is probably the most Bill Paxton out of any Bill Paxton you've ever seen. And if you know what I'm talking about. Because Bill Paxton can really Bill Paxton it up. And this movie is ultimate maximum Paxton. And it's great. But you really got, I mean, your sensibilities have to be, you got to be a weirdo to enjoy this movie, to embrace it. Dark backwards, folks. I got my friend Alec turned on to this movie because if anybody out of the friends group who was gonna really glom on and take a hold of this movie, it was gonna be Alec. His sensibilities are very much in line with this weirdness, and he loved it. And for Christmas last year, I got him a shirt of the Dark Backward. Sweeter than buttermilk. Jeff, you know what I'm talking about. Greg, I love Bill Paxton and Weird Science. Well, of course. Everybody loves Paxton and Weird Science. Chet. How can you not love Chet? You're stupid, dickweed. He pukes, you die. That's classic Paxton. That's classic John Hughes. Weird Science. One of the greatest fucking movies of all time. I'm not joking. It's so good. But if you want, as I said, if you want to get straight up, right in the beehole Paxton, watch The Dark Backward. I don't know. I can see people like shutting it off after the first 15 minutes. Because it's just, you gotta have that, you gotta be a little off. Okay. This movie, man. So, this movie came out in 1999, 98 or 99. I probably saw it in 2000, maybe 99. And I rented it because I had read some really cool stuff about it in maybe if it was, I can't remember which magazine it was, but I read some really cool stuff about it, and I was like, ooh, I'm intrigued by this because a lot of what was in the article was speaking to me as a person growing up wanting to make movies and shit like that. So I've loved this movie for a very, very, very long time. I've had it on VHS. I had it in a previous DVD, and then I have it in this special edition DVD that came out in 2006. The Anchor Bay put together. But this is Robert Meyer Burnett's Free Enterprise. I guess the reason it speaks to me so much is because of the filmmaking in it, the Star Wars stuff, the quoting, the still getting toys as adults, and there's comic books. There's so much in this movie that spoke to me. I related to. I saw myself in this film. Exact things that happened in this movie had happened to me. Almost same dialogue, same quotes. But this movie is yes, there's a lot of Star Trek in it because Robert Meyer Burnett and Mark Altman are huge Star Trek fans. This is basically an autobiographical film about them, two friends, and they just made this movie. But and Robert Meyer Burnett he's just he's a great man, huge geek. The late great John Schnepp would call him a huge sweaty. And Robert Meyer Burnett also he's got Robservations on YouTube, which is fantastic. If you're a geek lover, if you're a comic book lover, if you love science fiction, fantasy, horror, Robert Meyer Burnett is a great dude to talk to. And I've been trying to get him on the show for a couple of years now. But the movie is fantastic. It's kind of like... Well, they say it again here, but it's kind of like Swingers, the movie Swingers, but for geeks. Um, endlessly quotable. I don't know. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I absolutely love it. And there is no Blu-ray of this movie, which is heinous. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. However, this set that Anchor Bay did in 2006 is pretty fantastic. The special features are copious. They did a remaster of the film. They added some funny some special effects to sort of play off the whole George Lucas thing. Um, I don't know. If you're a geek and you love geek pop culture, give it a shot. You might really dig it. I absolutely love it. And this is a movie I've shown so many people. And almost every single time after the movie is done, that person is like, you know, Chris, I can really see why you love this movie. I can see so much of you in this movie. And it's true. Now, here's a gem. This is the last one that I'm going to talk about, at least from what I pulled out of my collection, which also needs a Blu-ray. But this movie is from 1988. I probably rented it in 89 or 90. It is a I believe this is a classic. I believe it's a classic 80s movie. Again, it's just because of my growing up with it. This is called Tapeheads. This is John Cusack and Tim Robbins. And it's another offbeat, quirky, absurdist, weird 80s comedy that I definitely was the only one who was like renting this movie back in the day, showing it to friends, and then as I got older, you know, when the DVD came out and everything, I showed everybody this movie, and they ended up loving it. But again, you got to have a weird, wacky sense of humor, embrace the absurdity of life and weirdness, and this movie is one of those. It's basically these two. They want to be filmmakers. They want to be have a business in creating content for people. So what they do is they start this video making company, and they make music videos for people. And they love this band called the Swanky Modes, and I ended up naming my ska band in 1995 the Swanky Modes because of this film. But I mean, Weird Al's in this. It's got some weird cameos. Fishbone is in this. It's just weird. There's some great music, really funny set pieces, funny videos that direct in the film. Cube Square, Devo. It's just a bizarre, fucking weird ass movie, and I absolutely love it. And I think like a lot of these movies, man, if you watch them and if you know who I am, if you know my movies, you know my sensibilities, you'll see these movies and just be like, I totally get it now. I totally get this Chris Seaver dude. And all these movies, the 80s, everything that I love, is truly shaped who I am as a human being. And this is another one of those films that did it. Tapeheads, guys. No Blu-ray, unfortunately. This DVD's been out for a long time. This is another Anchor Bay release. This also has the Swanky Modes soundtrack from the film. I just love this movie. Ooh, the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles commercial they create in the film is legendary. I love it, man. I love it. Robert, yeah, so you know the alphabet backwards without vowels and sign language. Greg, Tapeheads is a good one, got on DVD. John Cusack is one of my favorite actors. He is phenomenal in a lot of what he does. Wrestle Kick, yo, love your films, man. Nice channel. Thank you, Wrestle Kick. Hello for the first time, maybe. I don't know if you've checked out all the stuff on the channel, but thank you for coming. Hopefully you watched some of the videos and you enjoyed enough to subscribe and come back with us. I try to do a live show every week. It's a lot of fun. I love the people who come by. I got to take another pee break, folks, so it's going to be a little more dead air. I keep forgetting. No, people. I keep forgetting. Chris, hello, I'm back. I know it's late over there in the UK, but as always, I appreciate you stopping by. You could always watch it afterwards, but you always try to make an effort to pop on live. I appreciate that, Chris. All the way from the UK. Chris and Toria, guys. His channel's great. He's a good dude. I want to meet him one day. I want him to taste my passions. Robert, I have to fly, so I'm going to throw my list in and catch up later. Turk 182, The Funhouse. Love The Funhouse. Uncommon Valor, Saturday the 14th. Lots of fun. Vibes, also great. Cyndi Lauper, Jeff Goldblum. Bad Medicine, Critical Condition, The Principal. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for coming by. We do this weekly, or at least I try to. Try to do this weekly. It's always a great time. So I mean, you guys wanna, I got those out of the way. Whatever you guys want to talk about. 80s, movies, toys. As I said before, we wanted to do, I was debating what to do for this particular show, but because of, some of the other folks who do these shows on the channel with me, they want to be a part of certain themes, like our favorite 80s toys and the grails, the toy grails that we want back in our collection. Because I was going to do that tonight. I was going to make the 3 hours about 80s toys, but I got to put that off for Casey and Tansky and whoever else wants to join an actual episode for us to do that. But that's going to be fun. So, but what's going on with yous guys? What do yous guys want to talk about? Yeah, let me bring you down here. Greg, no, I do not. Adam, hello. Chris, just rewatching Buffy here, man. You watching any TV shows right now? Yeah, we are Well, I mean, we skit scat all over the place with our shows that we watch. We watch new shows. We try to catch up on new shows, and then we watch a lot of old shows. I certainly watch a lot of '80s shows that I just pop in and rewatch. Um, I'm currently on my like fifth or sixth or seventh full viewing of the entirety of Family Ties because I love it so much. I still don't have that damn DVD set that's been languishing in my Amazon wish list forever. Wife. So I just watch it on Amazon Prime, but I want that goddamn set. But yes, I love Buffy. Love Buffy. I was telling Casey recently that we need to do a Buffy marathon. It's been so long because we really love Buffy. He and I share that passion for Buffy and Angel. Greg, it's airplane-ish. No, I've never seen it. Adam, how are you? How are you? Yeah, yeah. I still. Yeah, man, Buffy never gets old. I don't know how many times. And like the weakest season is part two, I would say. I mean, season one, I would say, but I still watch it when we start. You know, I love being able to go back and just start from the beginning and do it all. I'm also not the biggest fan of season six of Buffy. There's some things in season six that a little. I guess a couple in five as well. Like Dracula was a joke. Five. Adam, I messed up the time for this, so I am late. Whoops, I am pretty good. Give my wife a lesser known movie to watch tonight from the 80s. Um, well, I talked about a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if you'd be able to find some of these that I was showing off. Um, yeah, I don't know that you could readily get a hold of, Adam. I don't know. Because the good majority of these movies are not on streaming anywhere. VHS bootleg. My Buffy rewatch lasted 8 years. I'm not one for binge watching. I get it. I mean, you certainly. I mean, when there was no binge appointment binge, uh, if it was just DVD, VHS, what have you, it definitely took a while because you just stop and do something else. Friels, I'm having a gathering at my house, so you have a few people watching. Oh, I'm sure they're highly entertained by me sitting here just yapping about stupid shit. Hello, everyone. Adam, well, I most likely have not seen many movies you have seen from the 80s. Any one off the top of your head will do for us. How are you, man? I'm doing all right. Could always be better, but I'm doing all right. Not as up and chipper as I was last week. You know, dealing with some more stuff, but you know, day by day, brother, day by day. Um, so Adam, I don't know. Check out. I guess you could maybe find some of these on YouTube, and then if you've got like, so you can watch them on TV, YouTube on TV. Midnight Hour is a great made for TV Halloween '80s movie. Um, I mentioned Tapeheads is a great film. Um, Amazon Women on the Moon. April Fool's Day from 1986. Fantastic horror movie. Doesn't get enough love. The 1990 Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, which is fantastic. Um, Top Secret. Chef's Kiss. Okay, random entertainment. Any choice words for the upcoming Ghostbusters 3 or the new Child's Play reboot? One, I did talk about Ghostbusters. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I'm excited for it. I'm glad it's back in the actual continuity of the original Ghostbusters. Um, I'm all about it. I mean, it's fucking Ivan Reitman executive producing, his son writing and directing. Um, they loved the story so much that it brought Ivan Reitman to tears. I'm super excited for it. I didn't really give a shit about the 2016 reboot. As I've said before, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it either. It was such a meh experience. All that weird backlash and controversy over that, it just didn't. I didn't understand what the big deal was. Other than, hey, why aren't you making Ghostbusters 3? Which finally they are. And it took a weird ass reboot for them to be like, oh, maybe we should do okay, the original Ghostbusters handing off the legacy to a new group of Ghostbusters. That makes sense. So they should have done that the whole time. But so I'm excited for it. As a giant Ghostbusters fan, bring it on. As for Child's Play, listen, they shouldn't be doing it because Don Mancini has been cranking the Chucky forever, and it's fine. You know, the direct to DVD movies have been the last two. Well, I loved Curse of Chucky. Cult of Chucky, it's starting to slide again, but I mean, they just announced the television show, the Chucky television show on Sci-Fi, from Don Mancini. So I'm all about that. And listen, it's not Chucky in this new Child's Play movie. It's not Chucky. It's a different name. Um, they MGM owns the rights to the Child's Play name, so they can do whatever the fuck they want, and they want to make money. So that's what they're doing. It's a slimy move, but I don't get my panties in a bunch over it. Who fucking cares? You don't want to see it, don't see it. It's that simple. It doesn't ruin Child's Play from 1988. It doesn't ruin the Chucky films at all. You just don't go see it. Don't watch it. But the thing is, no matter how many times anybody says, I'm never going to watch that movie, blah, I'm not going to give this studio that money, blah. You may not see it in the theater, but your ass is watching that either on streaming or video. So shut up. You've watched the movie. You're watching the movie. Whether you've given money or not, you're watching the fucking movie. If you really didn't want to watch the movie, if you really hated everything that they're doing about your precious whatever it is, be it Ghostbusters, be it Turtles, be it whatever movie or franchise that you loved and they're remaking, and give it shit, truly be the warrior you're coming off as, and don't watch the movie. That's what I gotta say. That's what I gotta say about that. It doesn't do anything for me. I could watch it and I could like it. I still have the original stuff. I could watch it and I can hate it. I still have the original stuff. It doesn't matter to me. So that's my take on those. And reboots in general. Big fucking deal. Adam, thanks, Chris. We will find one of those, and I will let you know which one we watch. Random entertainment. I'm excited as well. I'm just curious how it will go without Harold Ramis, and agree 100% on the 2016 one. Holy shit, a Chucky television show. Yes, Curtis, they are doing a Chucky television show with Don Mancini and all of them involved. Random, I'm not a fan of Cult or Seed. Agree, Random. I am not a fan. I think they just went a little too far. Definitely with Seed, man. I remember walking out of that theater with my buddies. We were we were just like, God damn it! Like they just went a little too far with the comedy. That's why I loved Curse so much because he brought it back. Brought it back. Um, it was a great comeback. Not a fan of the Buddy doll for the new Child's Play, but I'm going to check it out. Also, not a fan of being an AI as opposed to Chucky. But again, it's like who cares? They got to do something different. They're gonna do it, and whatever. You still got that 1988 gem, that classic Child's Play. Brian Short. Hi, Chris. Good to see you, my friend. How about that new Night of the Creeps Blu-ray coming? Brian, absolutely right. I was salivating that goddamn Night of the Creeps Scream Factory with the Tom Atkins toy action figure. It's too much, man. $70 fucking. I want it so bad. I'm not gonna get it. I can't afford that. I can't do anything like that. But I want it so bad. Night of the Creeps is one of my favorite films ever. Um, Adam, I agree with that. The new Halloween was amazing until right at the very end. What did you not like about the ending, and how would you have changed it if you wrote it? Well, first of all, I would never write anything like that. That's just not my thing. Um, I loved the new Halloween up until the end. I just didn't like the end. I felt like the end was kind of a. I was like, that's it? That's what you're doing to him? And then with all of the whole time her being paranoid, her being like on top of everything, one step at I mean step by step she was ready for this dude, and she just goes down there and expects the place to blow up and expects him to, I guess, not be alive. She's just like, it worked. We killed him. It's over. That was just like, no, 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 no. That's Lori is smarter than this. There should have been some aftermath, you know, not getting in a truck and driving away and then having that weird like, ooh, does this mean like the daughter is now like some sort of, I don't know. I don't know. It just the ending just didn't work for me, but it didn't ruin the experience because I loved it. So. Random, absolutely. Well, the Child's Play 2. I really love 2. 3, I don't like. I love 1. And Bride, I fucking adore. I adore Bride of Chucky. But yeah, you gotta see that new Halloween. It's great. It's great. I'm sorry if I spoiled anything by talking about the ending. I don't know. The ending just didn't work for me. I didn't go into too much detail with the ending, but it just was like, too convenient. I see no way Carpenter like that ending. Laurie and Myers should have killed each other, and at the end, I think, but of course they would not allow that. I didn't think it was a great movie. I did think it was a great movie. Yeah, I mean everything was on point up until that ending. But yeah, they knew what they were doing because they were gonna make sequels off of it. They knew this movie was gonna do fucking phenomenal, and it did. And sure enough, they're writing the sequel now. So, but it's under Blumhouse, man. Blumhouse, they know what they're fucking doing. Give props to that dude, Jason Blum, man. Random, same, but I love 3 as well. Hey man, people like what they like. It's cool. It's all good. Do they explain why it knocks all the other ones out in the film somehow? No, no, it's not even this. It just wipes the slate clean, and they're going to be doing that a lot with movies anyway. With a lot of these like sequel boots, these sequel reboots that are coming along, they're wiping some of those movies away from the originals, and I get it, and it works for the most part. It really does work. It cleans up things, cleans up those timelines. I mean, that fucking series is a convoluted mess anyway. So, Curtis, yeah, sorry. Good on you though. Random, that's right. Terminator is doing that as well, which I wholeheartedly am okay with. I think taking place after two is the best thing they could do. Adam, don't get me wrong, I'm excited another will be coming out with how great the new one is. Carpenter will be involved again too. I have so much of Carpenter's music on my iPod. Huh. Great composer. He is a great composer. Me and Shawnee and our buddy Chris Walk and Bobby and Casey all went to see Carpenter live a few years ago, and it was one of the greatest surreal moments of our lives, and us as a collective, we will never forget it. It was so amazing. I mean, there's so many times we were in that hall watching the master at work where we were all like sort of just looking at each other, not believing what we were seeing. John Carpenter performing his music live. It makes me happy just thinking about it. But the man is a fucking genius. I love that man. And don't worry, Adam, we will be doing our video about John Carpenter, our love of John Carpenter. That is something we will do. Tansky had to go off to Florida, so now it's going to be a little bit before we can get to it, but we will. Random, I agree. Random, I agree, and I'm glad it's after two and not just the first. I brought up to some friends, what if they did it with The Exorcist and brought back Reagan after all these years? They could. Um, they could. That would be a cool concept. Did you watch the television show, The Exorcist? I didn't bother because it only ended up being like two seasons, and then they just canceled it. Adam, that is so cool. I wanted to go badly when he came to Chicago, but it didn't happen for me. I will look forward to that video about Carpenter. No rush. No, I haven't. I wasn't aware that there was one. Yes, there is a television show that Fox did, The Exorcist. Gina Davis was in it. Um, and I had some people tell me that I should watch it, but I just was like, if it's not going to expand more, then I don't know if I wanted to invest the time in it. But apparently, the first season is better than the second season, but I don't know. We're going to be doing this probably for another 45 minutes if you guys still want to. If you guys want to keep chatting, I'm going to end this around 9 o'clock. Or if you guys are just getting bored, we'll just end it soon. It's up to you guys. Adam, I actually stayed in the hotel in St. Louis where they shot the fight scene with the ring from Escape from New York. I didn't even know that was shot there till someone who worked there told me. Most of it was shot in St. Louis. That's awesome. Escape from New York, another chef kiss. I talk a little about Carpenter in the movie collection video part 3 that's going to go up next week, but I held back on a lot of stuff movie wise because I knew we would do our own episodes on the channel for certain directors, certain films. Random entertainment that is awesome. Escape from New York is probably my favorite Carpenter film after The Thing. The Thing is definitely my favorite John Carpenter film. Um, Again, I don't want to go in too into it because we are going to do our own Crept from the 80's episode of John Carpenter for John Carpenter. He is my favorite genre director of all time. So I will have a lot to say. And many movies to talk about. That's another bonding thing that my wife and I have is The Thing. We adore that movie. And I loved it, man. We showed River, my son, maybe in November. We showed him The Thing for the first time. Uh, and I always held back because I felt like he would be bored. But man, he loved it. He was like so invested in it. He was like talking about the characters during the movie and asking us questions. We were like, no, no, just keep watching. He was just so like invested. I was watching his face watch the movie, and you know his eyes were bugged out at so many parts, and he was like, you know, grossed out at the best parts. And but at the end of it, he was like that was a great movie. I was like, ah, I love it. Another bonding experience. Random, mine as well. My biggest part of my collection are Carpenter, Stephen King. Awesome. Adam, I am really looking forward to that video. Carpenter is not only a great director, but also a big part of the 80's to me. Well, you damn right. Adam, The Thing is so amazing, a movie that makes you see how much CGI sucks most of the time. Man, if CGI is done correctly, if it's given time, if it's given love and the care that it needs, and not like a fast fucking, oh, this movie needs to get done, we're on a deadline, like let's get it fucking in there. But when CG is taken care of, CG is phenomenal. Um, and what they should be doing, what they don't do enough of, is combining the live action with the CG, the practical effects with the CG, and seamlessly making it all work. Not enough people care enough to do that. Um, Random. Thoughts on Ghosts of Mars? You know what? I'm going to keep that for the John Carpenter video. Um, all I'll say is I've seen that movie a lot, and not for the reasons you would think. Adam, I don't think most movies do it very well. There are some that are amazing, but many look cheap compared to Dark Crystal, The Thing, Star Wars, etc. Agreed, but there's, I mean, listen, we're living in a golden age of geekery and splendor and awe, for me anyway. I still am a giant kid. It doesn't matter that I'm in my 40s. I'm a giant kid. I still have that childlike wonder and awe in me. And I am awed by a lot of stuff that I see nowadays. Yeah, there's some clunky effects here and there, but CG done right is pretty breathtaking for me. Um, but I'll always prefer practical effects. It's just some things they just can't do anymore, man. Get more hate than it should. I think it gets about the right amount of hate. Random. Greg, I just watched Big Trouble in Little China again last night, and my God, Kurt Russell is so dang good in that flick. Greg, that movie is phenomenal. Big Trouble in Little China is not just one of my favorite Carpenter films, but one of my favorite films ever. Love, 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 love that movie. Jack Burton, that character is such a creation. So good. Adam, 100% agree with you. Other than a few things here and there, 100% Infinity War has mind blowing CGI in that movie. Adam Teen Ape Goes to Camp had amazing CG as well. Whew! You know it, brother. You know it. That stuff looked more real than real. Too real. Actually, Jeff does some really fun special effects, visual effects. Jeff Fuller, folks, in the chat, he did the visual effects for Death of Lantern, the remake. And they, I mean, to be honest, they look too good for a Chris Seaver movie. So lots of fun. Lots of fun. Jeff, Thanos' skin, damn, the detail. Thanos is the best big screen villain since Vader. I mean, he is phenomenal. The CG, when there's so much in that movie. That whole, I've talked about this scene before, but the whole scene on Titan, all of that on Titan is just some of the greatest joy, geek joy that I have ever seen come to live action. Just oh my God. I think, folks, I really think that we've seen nothing yet. I think the Russo brothers know exactly what they have in Endgame, and Endgame is probably gonna blow our taints apart. I really think they have something. If we thought Infinity War was special, I think, we ain't seen nothing yet. I cannot wait. Random. That is interesting. You're right. Vampires spawn those garbage sequels, and Ghost of Mars didn't get anything. Very interesting. But I really enjoy vampires. To me, I mean, it's the last great Carpenter film. Random, I agree, Adam, but the CG for Carnage for the Destroyer was phenomenal. There was CG in Carnage for the Destroyer? Adam, I actually agree with Thanos and what he is trying to do in the movie, honestly. A villain who doesn't know they are a villain are the best ones. 100%. I mean, he's still a dick, and I can't wait for them to fucking destroy him. More so because I also know comic lore. I'm a big fan of Marvel Comics in general, so I know Thanos, and it doesn't matter that what he thinks is right. He's still doing some fucked up shit, so I cannot wait for his ass to go down. So, but I'm gonna be mesmerized the whole time by his performance, motion capture, all of that stuff. Josh Brolin, man, killing it. Jeff, Precinct 13, it's all right. Prince of Darkness, that's definitely not on my up list. I'll say my thoughts for Carpenter vid. Yeah, the Carpenter one will not be a live show. It's just going to be one of the episodes we shoot for John Carpenter, the Crept from the 80's episodes. But you can comment in the comments for show. Yeah, random. I'm definitely not on board with those sequels at all. Those vampire sequels. I mean, the 90's, man. 90's and early 2000s. All those horror movies were getting, you know, studio direct to DVD sequels for fucking everything. Some weren't that bad, but most were pretty terrible, for sure. What do you think, guys? You think you guys want to do a half hour more, or what are you feeling? Hey, NES Addict, checking in to say hi. Hello. I've been watching far more of your videos. Great stuff, man. Fantastic. NES Addict, guys, if you're a fan of retro gaming, check them out on the YouTubes. Random, yes, the Children of the Corn sequels. I actually in the next movie collection video that's going up next week, I do talk about those. Jeff, sure, dude. Got any more hidden gems or indie gems? Um, not off the top of my head. I mean, I've told people to check out the works of Todd Sheets and Todd Cook. Um, those movies are great. I mean, J.R. Bookwalter, early Ron Bonk. Leaf Jonker's Darkness is a great indie horror movie. Really crazy. Um, Eric Stanzi's Savage Harvest. Love it. Shot on video gem from the mid 90s. I assume you dislike this, but I'll ask anyway. Do you like? I love Twin Peaks. Got you there, Adam. I do. I do. Both my wife and I, we love Twin Peaks. NES Addicts, thank for the plug. No problem, man. It's a great channel. Nice facts of lecture. Hey, man, you take the good and you take the bad. You take them both, and there you have one of my favorite television shows of all time, ever. Facts of Life. Jeff Tempe, rest in peace. That's right. That's right. All the indies are going down. Curtis, I recently got Todd Sheets' Bone Hill Road. Yep. And I guess I had a great theme song. That's right. The theme song written by Alan Thicke and performed by his wife. Tony, I want more minutes with Chris Seaver. Keep the train rolling. All right, I'll go for another half hour. Blair or Mrs. Garrett. Well, I've talked about my love of Facts of Life, guys. I mean, I love all the girls on Facts of Life. I think they're all wonderful, great actresses. Mrs. G was sort of my surrogate nanny. But Lisa Whelchel, who played Blair, I think she was a fantastic physical comedian. I would I would love to meet the girls of the Facts of Life. Love, love, love to meet them. It'd be so dope. Greg, have you ever mentioned who your top five character actors are? If you actually have a top five, at any point in your videos, if not, care to. I've never really done that. Character actors, I don't know. There's a lot of cool people I dig. Um, yeah, geez, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Throw some out, and maybe I'll respond to them. Adam, I also love Twin Peaks. Bob is so creepy. The music is so cool. It is beyond weird in a great way, and I love Lynch in general. Eraserhead is a masterpiece to me. The new Twin Peaks was really good. We didn't really like the new Twin Peaks. There were certain episodes that we loved, for sure. But overall, we were kind of left scratching our genitals with that. Um, but we love the original first two seasons, for sure. Random, if you could cast Stamos in any of your flicks, which, which one and as what character? Ugh. Well, I would cast him in anything, and he would be John Stamos. He would be LBP's John Stamos. That's who he would be. Buck Flower, Curtis, great. All right, be right back. NES. Buck Flower, yeah, he's great. Crazy drunk driver. Ooh, yeah, get some good ones going. I'm sorry, I gotta pee again, guys. It was the hard cider that, whew, it's going through me. I'm back. Well, what we originally thought is that if we could ever get a cameo from John Stamos in any of the stuff, we were gonna just build a fake frame that was large, and we were just gonna put him in the back of a scene and have him in the frame, and not really doing anything. But it's it's John Stamos. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, in a lot of my movies earlier on in the films, a sight gag was always if pointing out how many times you could see a framed picture of John Stamos that we had in random scenes throughout. And we did that for probably 5 or 6 years worth of movies back in the day. Blend with you. You know our love was meant to be. Kind of love that lasts forever. And I want you here with me. From the night until the end of time. Adam, we all love the fact that Stamos showed up so much in your movies. Well, he's a guardian angel. Those were the days. Having Stamos over your shoulder. Keeping you safe. Adam, where did the inspiration for Teen Ape come from? Just a random thought one day. Teen Ape was when we were. So we had just done Anal Paprika, and this was 1999, and we we showed it at this like local theater, um, and we got a lot of like fun, cool responses from it. People, the audience thought it was funny or whatever it was. And so I immediately was like, well, I want to make a second one. And the second one was called The Uncouth Exploits of Alfred and John Simon Vampire Hunters, or Vampire Killers, not Anal Paprika 2. But it had the same characters, and it was a, continuing adventure. And when I was writing the script, and at the time it was Casey's dorm room. He was in college. So I would go there every weekend to just hang out, and we'd, geek around. But so when I was writing the script for part two, we were, I'd have Casey bounce off stuff too, bounce ideas off and whatnot. And I remember just being like, let's have a. No, Casey goes, let's have, as a random sight gag, let's have Teen Wolf show up in in this movie. And I was like, well, no, we can't have Teen Wolf show up. Teen Wolf is a thing. So I go, how about Teen Ape? And in 1991, I shot this dumbass little backyard thing with my buddies called I Was a Teenage Ape. And it was this character who, he accidentally drank ape urine, like this like otherworldly ape urine, and it turned him into a rad, hip ape, human ape, man ape, planet of the ape. And so when I said, well, why don't we just do Teen Ape? And I was like, oh, like that dumb thing I did back in the day, and we'll have this character Teen Ape show up out of nowhere. So I wrote Teen Ape in it, and originally Teen Ape didn't talk. He was just this breakdancing fighter. He would show up, he would break dance, he would help the gang, and then leave. And then it wasn't until Anal Paprika 3, Menage a Death, that I started writing dialogue for Teen Ape. And Casey wasn't the original Teen Ape. It was actually a bunch of different people who played Teen Ape before Casey started playing Teen Ape in 2001 for Scrotal Vengeance. So there was a bunch of people who played the character of Teen Ape. I played Teen Ape before in a few things. Before I was like, you know what, Casey's now going to be Teen Ape. But so the original dialogue, he didn't have dialogue until Anal Paprika 3. And then I started writing him as a Lothario, jacked up, just dirty ass. It was really a stereotype on all the jockey asshole dudes who treated women like crap in 80s and 90s movies. And a little similar, and a little bit of stuff that I was seeing kind of Casey act like in college, and people that he was hanging out with. I was just like, ugh, I hate these types of people, and this is who Teen Ape became. And I just sort of let go of everything that was just vile and, just a disgusting human being, whatever that was like being locked in my head that a person like that would say was coming out through the Teen Ape character, and that's where it all came from. That was a long-winded Random, how long did it take to write his monologues of sexy, passionate persuasion or such? Can you remember any or come up with something right now? I mean, it was just whatever. It was just a part of the script. When I was writing the script, and I knew Teen Ape was going to be in it, the calling card became this like disgusting sex monologue that he would have with whoever girl he was trying to conquest. And it became Teen Ape saw it as poetry. So I would try to write it as a poem, but a poem of just nonstop vulgarity and offensiveness and Yeah, it just did it. And I mean, there were times where I would write my scripts, and I would shake my head as I'm writing it and just be like, "Man, Chris, are you really? Do you really want to say this?" And at the time, I think it was a lot of like, I remember early on Lloyd Kaufman always telling me like, man, like push the shock, go for the shock, and we did for a long time, and it definitely is not my sensibilities. It was never a part of who I was as a human being. Um, there's stuff that I wrote back in those days that I would never write now. And it's just what it was. It was all about shock value and how far you could push it. And so yeah, it was just really I would write and the most vile stuff would just pour. But it was only being filtered through certain characters. If you notice, if you're a fan of any of the LBP movies, any of my films, um, for the most part, most of the guys I would write, not all, but most of the guys I would write were just disgusting, loathsome people in their beliefs and how offensive they would get, the stuff that they would talk about, how they would treat other people and women. Um, and it really, honestly, was just a pushback on what not just society, but movies, television, and shit would embrace as far as these characters were concerned, or really push in your face back in the day. And this was my version of that, only pushed even further with almost every male character throughout all my movies. Not all of them, but most. And the women characters were the people who were the ones who were the most kick ass, the most grounded, had the most smarts, most intelligent, and did most of the fighting in my movies, or taking down the bad guys. I actually know. Oof. Okay, Adam. I actually know guys very similar to Teen Ape, including his face and hair. That's rough. Random. I quote them all the time with my friends and kind of come up with my own while drinking. Yeah, I mean, it has been known throughout the years that many a fan has they have started quoting the Sievage speak. Jeff, not the chode. You mean choach? Adam, never thought you agreed with the things you wrote, man. It's just funny, silly stuff. I was the kind of guy, and still am, that would tell my friends that I would do my own mom just to shock them. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Every now and again, I would get people, either reviewers or fans who would say, you know, you're not a very good person, Chris. You must have issues, blah blah blah. Or I was misogynistic or whatever it was, and I would just be like, man, you guys aren't getting the point. Maybe it wasn't subtle enough. I thought it was knocking you over the head with the stuff, but it wasn't me. It was a reflection of people that I knew, people I saw, people in the movies, society, just amped up to 11. And people, I guess, took it as, well, if you're writing this stuff, then that's who you are. It's a reflection of you, Chris Seaver. Well, guess what? It's not. It never was. Um, Certainly with the more outlandish stuff, the more outlandish characters. Movies like that I did, Geek War, Karaoke Kid, The Weirdsies, those movies, there's a lot of me in them because they were going for different things. So I was showing a little bit of actual Chris Seaver in them as opposed to the stuff that the fans came to actually love or loathe. So random, absolutely. They each had their own version of filth. That's what got me hooked. Plus, for indie films, you guys acting was spot on, perfect. Thank you, random. That's I really appreciate that. I have said that work with I work with my extended family. All the gang are my best friends. None of them are really actors other than Billy Garbarina, but none of them are actors. They only started doing it because I pulled them into this mess. Um, and I began to write for these people, write for my friends. I knew what we had created, what the characters were, and I knew these guys could really pull them off. And so there's some people that I just absolutely love writing for because I know they're going to deliver some kick-ass stuff. Um, Greg, one of my favorite scenes in your movies is the bathroom sex scene in the film crew. How did that scene come about? Again, just how well. So, film crew is half based on the people that I actually worked with at the theater, and half just made up shit. Some of that stuff is actual stuff that I witnessed, or that these people that I was working with would tell me that happened in their lives or was happening around the theater. Just some weird ass, childish, high school type shit, plus some weird stuff. And then I embellished with a lot of my own buffoonery. Um, so there was this person I worked with named Liz, and she was all she talked about sex a lot. She was going into study about these sexual organs. She was going to be like a doctor, whatever. Anyway, she talked about it a lot. So she was also she seemed like she seemed like she would be a really horny person outside of work. So that character was willing to have sex with anybody and everybody. And everybody who I was working with loved Jason. Jason was a real character. The character of Jason in the movie, the long pigtail blonde dude. Justin, not Jason, Justin. Justin I worked with. But the females at my work seemed to really love Justin a lot. So I thought, okay, well, what's the most extreme thing that both of these idiots would do in real life if they were in the heat of passion? And that is that sex scene in Film Crew. Of course, taken to the extreme through buffoonery and absurdity, but that's where it came from. The sex scene in Film Crew had us laughing so hard we could barely breathe. Your movies play off of the stupidity that is rampant in existence in humanity. Thank you, Adam. Jeff, gotta run. Thanks for the list, dude. Next up, Never Too Young to Die. Awesome. I hope you come by more, Jeff. We will talk. We gotta, you know, maybe some magical fun for us to collaborate with in the future. But thank you for coming. Watch the videos. Watch our shows, man. There's some great stuff down below. I hope you check them out. And you're welcome, man. It's great to see indie actors knock it out of the park. Again, they're not actors. None of them are actors, other than Billy Garbarina. Just hams, you know. Adam, your movies really are outstanding, Chris. I will now forever watch your movies and show them to people I know as well. Some of your movies are some of the funniest movies I've ever seen for my taste. Well, thank you. That means a lot. If there were only more of you, and if there were only people who were in a position to really change my life. But I do appreciate it. Sadly, there is no more. There's no more, but I appreciate all the fans who love the weird crap that we did over the years. The last one you can see is Death O'Lantern the Remake, which we finally is out on Blu-ray. Through me. Only, but it's finally out. Random. I, however, must go. I'm glad I was able to stop by tonight. Got work early in the AM. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Random, for showing up. Thank you for chatting with us. Hopefully, we'll be doing it again next week, and you'll come by then. And if you haven't checked out the shows, please do. We've got a lot of awesome shows down there that we have a lot of fun putting together. And hopefully, like-minded people will enjoy them as well. Adam, I have a very vulgar sense of humor at times, more than some can handle. Random, I consider you guys actors. Well, thank you. Thank you. We got about okay. We got about 10 minutes to go, folks. I'm glad some of you have hung on this long. This is another 3 hour live show. It's been great. Love it. Sorry I haven't been as peppy as I try to be, but a lot going on in the real world here at the Sievage compound. So thank you, Random. Thank you for the support and thank you for sharing. We will hopefully see you next time. Adam, I also consider you actors. I mean, that I gotta be honest, it's been a shit start of the year for me too. Me too. So you are not alone. Spring is coming, as so with better days. Well, we hope so. We hope so, man. You know, there can still be a lot of shit going on in the spring and summer, but at least it's better outside. At least the weather isn't gloom and doom like it is now. It always brings everybody down, you know. Other than Christmas and the lead up to Christmas, winter sucks for both mood, weather, everything. But give it to me at Christmas, around Christmas time, absolutely. I love Christmas. You all know that. Um, so yeah, all you guys who are either watching after or in the live chat, if you haven't, please give the shows a watch. We love making these shows, not just for us, but for hopefully you guys too. You can relate to some of the stuff we're talking about, be it Crept from the 80s, be it any of the horror stuff we talk about, the movie stuff, and our Star Wars show. I totally get why we don't have a lot of views on our Star Wars show because there's, a dime a dozen. There's Star Wars shows coming out the butt everywhere, but it's our take, it's our perspective, it's us just shooting the shit about what we love. We love Star Wars. So give it a watch. You might want to comment. You might want to talk with us about some of your Star Wars memories or what you think about what's happening in the saga or in the world of Star Wars. Adam, sunshine really helps me. I am doom and gloom, but I also get seasonal depression in the winter on top of the sludge already on my brain normally. I hear you. Adam, I am always in the best mood in the fall. Fall in Illinois, where I live, truly is beautiful and Halloween like. I bet it is. Tony Boys, Chris, who do you think does absurd comedy the best? Um, Man, well, I love Monty Python. I mean, I guess they would be considered the kings of it, but uh, the Zucker brothers, of course, but also the State, the group, the State, and now they're all over the place, but a lot of them still work together. That group of comedians, known as the State, they are some of the funniest goddamn people still doing comedy. I love what Amy Sedaris, Stephen Colbert. I love what they created with Strangers with Candy. So great. I mean, Amy Sedaris in general is a goddamn comedy absurd comedy genius. She now has a show called I think it's life with Amy Sedaris or Cooking with Amy Sedaris or House Living with Living. I don't know. I can't remember the goddamn name of the show, but it's hilarious and it's that absurd, stupid humor. Um, who else does it really well? The Kids in the Hall did it good. Not as crazy as I like, but they did some fun, stupid stuff. Um, but yeah, those guys, those are some of the best that still actually do that absurdity. You know who's actually really fucking good at writing absurd, stupid shit? Is Tina Fey. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, actually. Those guys, 30 Rock and Kimmy Schmidt. I mean, those two shows are a fucking beacon for stupidity. So funny. Adam, I must go. We are going to pick out one of the movies you mentioned if one is there. Have a great night, Chris. And even though I was late, I enjoyed chatting. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. Hope to see you at the next show. Hopefully you'll find a dope movie to watch tonight. If I was a little more together and with it, I would have come up with a lot more stuff for you to find. But all right, so I don't know if there's nothing more. I don't know, we're 5 minutes away, but I guess this is closing out the live show for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you folks watching later enjoy it. Let us know what's going on in the comments as far as some of your weird movies that you love and maybe nobody knows about. And, you know, thanks for the support. Tell your friends. We're going to be... If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell so you know, the little bell notification bell, so you know when the new shows or live shows drop, or the episodes drop as well. There's going to be some stuff coming up that Casey Tansky and I are going to be putting together, some episodes, some news about certain things, and then I'll talk more about it actually, you know, as it gets closer. But if you know the films, if you are a fan of the stuff that I've done throughout the years, then and you happen to be living near Cincinnati, Ohio, we will be at the Horror Hound Weekend Horror Convention. Me and some of the gang. So if you want to stop by and geek out with us and rap with us about things, we will be there in March. But we'll talk more about that as it gets closer. Anyway, thank you guys. I am going to be splitting now. As always, I appreciate anybody and anybody who shows up to talk with me, who is entertained by this stuff. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, and it's part of what gives me some joy in this world. So I thank you, and look forward to, if you haven't watched any of the newer episodes that dropped, please go take the time and watch some of the news shows down there. We've got a lot of episodes of stuff that are really fun and nostalgic for you. We're going to be dropping some new stuff next week. So until then, and I'm not sure if it's going to be Friday or Saturday next week for the live show. I don't know. I got to check schedules, but there will be another live show next week. And until then, thank you guys for showing up.